Hey guys, welcome to module 5.2 for the Embodied Goddess. This module is going to be all about creating your own embodiment practice. And I know it looks a little different, but I'm excited for you guys just to have a module in this way where it's face to face. So let's just dive into it. And again, this feels a little different for me, so I kind of feel nervous, but it's all good. It's all welcome. So embodiment, what is it? Embodiment, I truly believe, just boils down at the very base of the process of being in the body, or the ability to be in the body. And so you guys have seen me do this practice on your coaching calls where we kind of walk it through, where we discuss what are you feeling in the body, what's happening, what are the sensations, and then I guide you through a breathwork journey, an embodiment journey, where there is music, where I invite you guys to do something, and then we shift, create energy, and we discuss it afterwards. So we're basically going to be talking about how to do that for yourself and by yourself, so that you don't need me, right? Because the self-healing mastery is all about self-healing. We need other healers to teach us what we already know is within. So that's one of the most powerful points about this whole program, is that you're the healer, but I'm just giving you the tools to set yourself up. So that's what we're doing. So how to create an embodiment practice at the very basic level: safety. You have to feel safe in your space. So I'm in my room right now, and I actually normally do it on my bed. I just didn't want to record on my bed, so that's why I'm in my chair. But a lot of the times, my safe space that I do my embodiment is in my bed, and I have my blankets, I have my pillows, I put on my eye mask sometimes, and I feel safe. It's really awesome to do it in a room where you can close the doors and have, feeling safe that the walls are holding you, that it's just you and you're by yourself. Also, something that really helps me get into my practice is making sure nobody can hear me, or if people are home, I like to put my headphones on. The coolest thing about this is that if someone does hear you, because that can feel really uncomfortable, that can feel like an edge when you're in your embodiment space, like when we're using the BMS, breath, movement, sound, and we might be going, like whatever it is. That might feel uncomfortable if a roommate hears you, your partner, someone maybe that lives on the other side of the walls. But it's a cool opportunity if they ask, or if you want to tell them, like, hey, I'm doing this process about getting into my body so I can move through my pain, through my triggers, through my numbness, so I can feel more clear and feel more myself and heal these aspects of me. So it can actually be a really cool process. But I know that's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest questions I get up of, like, what about people hearing me, or I'm nervous to make sound, because sound is such a powerful way to move through energy, but it can be really nerve-wracking if someone can hear you. Or just telling people beforehand, this is what I'm doing now. I might make weird sounds, and that's okay. So it'll get easier, I promise. So safety, going back to safety, number one, feeling safe in your space, making sure you can move without things hurting you. So like pointy objects, like I have my microphone over here, like I would make sure that is out of the way, so when I get into the movement part, I can move and express myself without, making sure I'm getting hurt. So safety, safety, safety. And then one of the other aspects that goes in embodiment is your loving witness. So we've practiced this a lot in the program, is that the belief and that the truth that all of you is welcome here. So before diving into any sort of embodiment, just really welcoming in that truth, that belief of all of me is welcome here. My shame, my pissed off, my fuck you energy, my jealousy, I get to feel all of it. So that's really powerful when we're in embodiment. So I would say it's the container, it's the this space, that safe space, to then be able to be in the body, where my loving witness, my awareness is kind of taking a bird's eye view of viewing myself, that all of me is welcome here. So we're kind of forming this container, and that's what I do on your guys' coaching call. It's truly a container where I welcome in the elements of safety and feeling held for you guys to be able to express, move, breathe, sound. And I offer for you guys and then co-regulate you guys in feeling that all of you is welcome, and letting you know that, you know, it's like saying things like it's safe to breathe, it's safe to be in your body, you know, you get to be fully expressed. So welcoming in those qualities when you're working with your embodiment. Let me look at my notes real quick to make sure. Yeah, okay. So the container, and then all of you is welcome. And then now let's talk about the breath. So, and music, breath and music. So a lot of the times you guys see me, you know, pull up a playlist or pull up a song. This is optional, but I feel like adds so much value as an aid to get you deeper into the body and get you into those little nooks and crannies and those little pockets of mold. So what I'm gonna do for you guys is I'm gonna create a huge playlist on Spotify, and you can make little mini playlists. So what I normally do is I have little playlists sometimes for a different emotion. Like I have a grounded emotion playlist if I want to feel more grounded. I just have a classic like embodiment playlist, which I would recommend for you guys. It depends. If you get really into the music thing, run with it. But it can also be so simple and so easy if you're not into music and creating playlists and that kind of stuff. So what I would do is just create a basic like 30-minute playlist. And 30 minutes might seem like a really long time already. I want to honor that part. If you're like, oh my God, that's a lot. It totally gets easier. So I like to kind of shoot for 30 minutes for myself of an embodiment practice. And if I cut it short, if I'm like, if I'm into it and I'm like, okay, this is then I might cut it short, but I really shoot for that 30 minutes. So I make a playlist that's 30 minutes, and I'll give you guys a huge playlist where you can pull and play and make your own playlist, and then I'll give you that short 30-minute one where you can use that as your starter. And normally I have the playlist, I do a soft, like welcoming, easy kind of like meditation-y music, and then I build, like we talked about with the embodiment, the embodiment scale. It's the same thing with the music. That's why the music's an aid. It really goes, you know, we start off slow, build, we hit the peak, the expression, we make noise, big sounds, and then we come back and like the same thing, and we hit that resolution and that grounded music. So that's why I introduced you guys to that graph, is because this is that whole process. So breathing with the music, giving myself 30 minutes, and I welcome in two qualities: spaciousness and fluidity under the bucket of unconditional welcoming. So I give myself the space and I welcome in that fluidity, that water, to move and clear through my channel, and allow myself then, those qualities, allow yourself to make the sounds and the movements that you need to come home to the body. And it can get really weird. And the more you do this, the weirder, the bigger, the crazier, the better. I mean, if you want, I like to do it on my bed or a big space in the floor. So like you might be all of a sudden like crawling around and getting into the body, or opening the chest and just allowing the movements to be big or to be crazy. It's perfect that way. And you can't do it wrong, like I always say. And then let's talk about breath patterns too. I stick with 3 normally to keep it really simple. I gave you guys that full breathwork library, and definitely play around with those, but the 3 that's just a really solid foundation is the triactive breath, the or the soft mouth breath, or in through the nose, out through the mouth. So those are the 3 breaths that I welcome into in my embodiment practice. Sometimes I stick with 1 and carry that on. The biggest thing I would say is like keep breathing. No matter what you choose, keep breathing, because that creates the quality of the spaciousness and fluidity to move through some of these things, to expand our capacity to hold more pain, hold more pleasure, and live in our desires. I wanted to say that. But just keep breathing, and if you stick with one, great. And if you also play with multiple, a lot of the times I will maybe start off with just a, and as the music builds, I build my breath, and I might switch to a and I use my breath to keep carrying me. And under all of this, under this whole time, I'm welcoming in that belief of unconditional welcoming. The belief that even if I think this breath sucks, I'm still breathing. Even if I think it's really hard, it's okay. Keep breathing. And also honoring myself. If it's a no all of a sudden, it's a no. That hasn't happened a lot, because normally it's this dance with resistance of like, this is really uncomfortable, I don't want to do this, but I keep breathing and I keep being there. But there was a time when I felt really sick, and I was like, ooh, if I show up for my embodiment practice, I'll feel better. When it was a no, I was like, I need to rest. So honoring that, honoring that visceral no, and you'll know when it's a no. So just being in tune with that. And I just want to make sure I'm touching on everything for you guys. Yeah, one more thing. I would say most of the times I start out breathing lying down under a blanket a lot of the times. And as I build that breath, and as the music builds, that's when the movement comes in. That's where maybe I like to shake a lot, and I'm shaking, and I'm shaking out, or I'm like kicking my legs, and I'm laying down and I'm kicking, and then maybe all of a sudden I need to like flip over, and oh yeah, props, that's next. Okay, we'll talk about props too. All of a sudden I might need to flip over, and I need to hit this pillow and just get all the anger out. Maybe there's rage, and that's where I'm like on all those things. So yeah, I start laying down, then build, movement. And as the song slows down, I slow my breath down. And then I normally end my practice with palms facing up. And like we do when we end our practices, is just receiving the energy I created and noticing the sensations that come up, noticing how I feel now in that moment, and just allowing myself to be in that. So that's normally how I end. And then the last, maybe not the last thing, I might say a couple more things, but one more thing is props. So this isn't normally the pillow that I use. I have a special pillow for embodiment over there, but this pillow works. I love having a pillow with me when I breathe. Allows me, sometimes I imagine it to be my inner child, and I imagine myself holding or rocking my inner child. Or sometimes I imagine it as something totally different, and I imagine it as something maybe that's frustrating me and I'm like hitting it. So like that's what you're saying. Or it's just a nothingness where I can like hit into the void, or just like throw it around or be with it. So I love to have a pillow with me, and blankets, and then a space to move around. So I probably do it on my bed most of the time, I would say. But if I know I have a lot of energy or feel like I need to shift a lot, that's when I do it in the open floor, and where I can like use my whole body. And since I talked about music a lot, I want to make sure you don't have to do this with music. I just think it helps. So if you want help in creating some of these music things or having questions about that, let me know. I mean, I have it very simply. I just have my big old playlist, and then I kind of pull songs, and I just keep in mind the embodiment scale. But you don't have to have music. Let me make sure we're good. Yes. Journal. I journal a lot of the times after I do my embodiment, because stuff comes up. Beliefs that I'm moving through. I might even take a belief that I've wanting to release and bring it with me in the practice. I might start off with another facilitator's meditation and then go into my practice. So I'm giving you guys embodiment, breathwork, meditation-y things. So you might start off with that and then go into your own thing. There's infinite possibilities on how to create an embodiment practice. But the biggest thing is just creating it and showing up for yourself and what's yours. And I would say aiming for 3 to 5 times a week. That can seem like a lot. I totally honor the part of you that might be like, oh God, that's a lot. But just feeling that out, feeling if that's even, you know, starting with once a week. I started with once a month even, at the time, like a year ago. So it's okay. And maybe now I'm pretty good about like maybe 5-ish times, maybe less, more, it doesn't really matter, but just showing up for yourself. Something that can happen is picking a time. So a time that you know you can show up for yourself. Like every Sunday evening, you might, you know, lead yourself through an embodiment practice, or every Monday morning, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you know, have this embodiment thing. Whatever works for you. And then lastly, the Embodied Goddess guide that you're creating, that vision that you're creating, that you're going to record. Super powerful to listen to that after you do your embodiment practice. So cool, because after you've moved the stuck energy, you've processed triggers, you've let out anger, you've whatever you're working with, if you're bigness or anything, to then listen to the vision while you're in that like clear channeled embodied state is huge. I mean, you guys saw the diagram of when we focus on our desires internally, and that's what this whole practice is. Like, coming home to the body and focusing on your desires internally, you're making that big magnetic field and tuning into that alignment. And so then when you're in that state to listen to the Embodied Goddess Guide, EGG for short, you are in such an alignment and an attunement to that it is just magic. And you will collapse time and space and draw those desires that you're listening to into your reality, because you are expanding your capacity to hold it all through the body, through moving through the body, and not through force, not through focusing on the how, and not through the analytics of it and of the mind, but you're in the body of it. And then lastly, I would say is when we talked about contractions and triggers, being with those in your embodiment practice. So even feeling if there's a contraction, you know, maybe I take my pillow and I feel that contraction and I feel how annoying that trigger or contraction is, and I feel it. And then I, you know, come back to my breath and I start to be in the breath, and then I welcome it in and welcome it out, and just in moving through that in my practice. If there's something, you know, that's pissing me off or that's really triggering me, I bring that in my practice to then release it, move through it, to get curious on how I can expand all of that. So there's so much goodness to this. And I touched on, so of course someone's car alarm is going off. I hope you guys can't hear that. There's so much I could say about this. But create it as your own. And that's why I want to introduce you guys to this right now, because I will help you creating your embodiment practice and giving you guys anything that you might need to go through this and bring this into your space and into your routine. So yeah, if you need to watch this video over again, please do. Let me know if you have any questions. I know it was a lot. This is the part where I get so excited, because it's the shift where like I've been holding the space and now you guys are learning how to hold the space for yourself, because that's really all it is holding the space, creating the safe container, and allowing the expression, fluidity, spaciousness, so you can be in your body, because that is the most beautiful place to be. And that's how you change your life, you heal, all the things. So this is, I get so excited. So I'm really pumped for you guys to start creating your own embodiment practices and writing out your vision for the EGG, the Embodied Goddess Guide. I love that. And all the good stuff. So let me know if you have any questions. We'll talk about it in Slack. Pumped for you guys. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for joining me.